right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 19th day of September, 2019. Well, it's a day of new beginnings with a 1 energy. 19 reduces to 1. 1 and 9 is 10. If you're not familiar with how numerology works, it's really pretty simple. And I just love it. I mean, you could really just gain a lot just from knowing what the day's numerology is. But here we look at the day and we look at the numerology of the cards and all of that and see how it can align or at least blend together to give us some kind of meaning here, as well as, what we take from the tarot cards and the runes that we look at. So if this is your first time here, welcome. If you've come back, thank you so much. If you haven't clicked subscribe, I'd sure love you to do that. And check out my blog over at imsteppingaside.com. It's called Stepping Aside. It's just a basic witch blog, but it's got all kinds of stuff on there, not just witchcraft. It's got herbs. It's got, because I'm an herbalist, and it's got some stuff on Reiki, because I'm a Reiki master, and it's got stuff on being an empath, and cannabis, because I'm a cannabis patient. And so you'll find all kinds of stuff there if you want to go look at that. And if you look below the video where it says show more, if you click on that, if you're new to YouTube, those of you who've been here before know all about that, though. Lots of times people that have channels will put link information in that section, and that's what I do. And if it's something really important, I'll put it down in the comments too. But and as far as the comments, leave comments if you have questions or you have another interpretation. This is not carved in stone. Just because I say it's one thing doesn't mean it's that way for you. So, there might be something that you think up that where it hits you a little bit different way, and you want to share that, and someone might resolve all kinds of things for somebody else. So you just never know, the ripple that gets created by what you do there. And so feel free, to leave comments and questions and different interpretations, and we're all just here to learn and just to share our own ideas. So please feel free to do that. Anyhow, let's get started, and we'll take our first card. We've got the moon is in Taurus. Whoops, there goes a card on the floor. The moon's in Taurus, and right now, and then this early afternoon around 1:58, just shortly before 2 o'clock this afternoon, my time, on the West Coast here. We're looking at it moving into Gemini in the 5th house. So maybe a little conversation this afternoon, maybe surrounding children, maybe. That might be fun. Go interact with some kids. Maybe your kids come home from school, or you get to see your grandchildren or something like that. So you could use that time and that energy for that. That's always nice. But let's go ahead and get started. I have the daily correspondences and astro information up on the blog. That's up for Thursday. So if you want to check that out over there at Stepping Aside, if you're going to be working magic today or just want to check in with the astrological information, the current information is in the top half, and then just the general correspondences for Thursday and for each day is down below. And if you don't know what that's all about, if you're not accustomed to magical workings, whenever we work magic, we like to make sure all of the energies are supported. And so everything has a vibration. Everything corresponds to something else. It's the whole as above, so below nature of things. And so stones, crystals will have, certain correspondences to certain days or certain planets or what have you. It all just sort of aligns together. And so, particularly if something isn't very favorable that day, you might use, say a different type of crystal to account for the energy that's lacking, for example. If you want to increase, if you're working a spell on Wednesday or something for communication, you might, have a bunch of citrine on the altar or on the workspace, wherever you're working it. You might have, for communication, you might have some lapis lazuli. You might have that. Some blue lace agate, so you can have some blue for the throat chakra. So you could have pink and blue and green candles, for healing and for good communication. You could have yellow on there as well. So you see, you can take different colors and different stones and different incense, different herbs to shore up whatever magic you're working with. So that's why we look at correspondences. Sometimes, if the moon's not in the right place, for example, the moon tends to influence, and so particularly emotions, and if the moon's not in the right place, we might want to wait. So you might say, well, okay, today's not the best day to work that spell. Maybe we'll wait until tomorrow, or maybe we'll wait until Saturday or something. If you're trying to bind something or restrict something, you would want to wait until Saturday if at all possible. So you would use the correspondences then, both current and general, to then just help shore up whatever working you're doing. So it's kind of a cool thing anyway. You can check out my latest book, Witch Notes. It's available on Amazon. Free to read on Kindle Unlimited if you have that. But it's both in paperback and Kindle format. You can read it. You can check out the correspondences there that I'm using here. I wanted to have a smaller book. I mean, I have a lot of different correspondence books. The Complete Magician's Tables is an amazing book. I mean, if you had only one, then that's the one. Realistically, he's got everything in there you could possibly need. But it's just big, and I just wanted something that, okay, what do I work with, And so I just took mostly from a couple different grimoires that I have, and plus some older medieval types of grimoires that I found and I've used as well, to just gather all of the things up that I use into one spot, just one small cheat sheet, basically, that, and I'll show you. Let's see, where is a copy here? Oh, is this it? Yes. So this is actually the proof copy, but this is what the actual book looks like. So as you can see, it's not very long, but it has everything in it. It starts out with herbs and herb magic, and it goes on to sigils and charms and all of that. And it has all of the different, it has the geomancy stuff in it. It has pendulum stuff in it. It has the Elder Futhark tarot. All of that's in here. The type of magical squares and the planetary sigils and whatnot, also Olympic spirits. It's all in here. But again, I didn't want anything bulky. I just wanted something that I could grab for the things that I forget about and need, right? And so that's why I came up with this one. So it's not as big as some people have, so it's not like a published grimoire per se, although in a sense it is, but it's mostly just because I published a small grimoire of a crone, so that's what it's called. And it's just a small grimoire, just to give people an idea of what that looks like if you're new to magic and witchcraft, what it can look like for you. It doesn't have to be anything massive. But on the other hand, the ones that are out there, Anne Mora has one, grimoire of a green witch, I think, or something. That's an excellent one as well. How she puts everything together in that is really, really streamlined and really easy to follow and whatnot. So hers is another nice one. But anyway, the correspondences and astrological information, that's basically taken from my latest book, essentially. So when you see that, you kind of get an idea of some of that in there. But it's by no means all of it. It's just, some things that I find important when I'm thinking about how I'm going to craft a spell or what have you. So anyway, that's what that's about, and it's up today. I went ahead and finished it last night and posted it this morning. So anyhow, let's go ahead though and get started and take our first card for today. And I'm not going to use the Rider-Waite today. I'm going to use the Morgan Greer. So here we go. Our first card. Well, we have the Queen of Rods, which is the same thing as Wands. The Morgan Greer changes some of the names here, but a lot of them do that when you have a non-traditional deck. And theoretically, the Morgan Greer wouldn't be considered a non-traditional deck, although it is a little bit. I like the way that they present their queens, though. Here we have a queen who's uh, dressed in gold, the fire element. She's in fact, she's quite golden, isn't she? She's holding a sunflower in her left receptive hand, and a staff in her projective hand, her right hand. So she stands in her own power. She looks right at you, doesn't she? She doesn't waver. She's dynamic. She's intelligent. She's observant. Things don't pass by the queens. Let's make sure that I'm not forgetting something here. In terms of this particular queen, generous, affectionate, talented, charming, honorable, successful, energetic. She's a very active presence. Whereas if you look at the Queen of Cups, for example, or the Queen of say, Pentacles, you're looking at a passive presence, more of a reflective or receptive type of a presence versus the Queen of Swords and Rods or Wands in this case. These are going to be more active queens. They're going to be a little bit more in your face when they need to be. It's not that the others can't summon it, but they're maybe going to be a little more, calm about things, maybe a little more neutral, maybe a little more, their compassion might be a little more evident than say with the Queen of Wands or Rods here, and also the Queen of Swords. They're more no nonsense. They're more, especially the Queen of Swords, that she's going to cut through the crap of everything, and she's going to know when you're lying. So will the Queen of Rods. They're just going to know, and so it's not a good idea to try to pull the wool over the eyes of a queen. Basically, let's do another card. And I take the 13th card each time for randomness sake. In normal readings, I don't. I just lay them out. Well, here we have the Page of Pentacles. We were just talking about Pentacles. Pages are youthful individuals. They can often bring messages, new opportunity, undeveloped potential. When you're talking about the court, you're talking about either the individual on the card that it's depicting. So in this case, a youthful person, a student. The knights are older. They're making their way in the world, so they're a little more active presence with this. The Page of Pentacles, though, the page is very studious, really establishing their way, getting their education, taking care of the mundane aspects of life and preparing for the future. He's looking toward the past. In this case, maybe he's looking at the queen for some direction, if we want to look at it in terms of placement here. Well, let's do it this way. You can see he's looking back at the queen, perhaps for direction, perhaps not, but that's something to consider. But at the very minimum, though, the page still needs the parent. They still need the person in authority in their lives to help guide them, to maybe help point them in the right direction, to help give them maybe some income to while they're in college, to maybe pay for school or to help get them situated that way. So they still need guidance. So even though the page is studying and all of that, still not quite yet to be on their own. And so we'll take that as a possibility that he's looking back at the queen in terms of needing a little bit of guidance, or maybe as a mentor. Looking at the queen for how do I deal with authority? How do I deal with authority that's dynamic, or how do I express authority in my life? Now, a person of Pentacles, if he became the, say, King of Pentacles, he probably wouldn't express it the same way the King of Rods would. So again, he's maybe learning from the Queen about how do I express authority in my life. But let's do another card. Oh, let it be not another court card. You don't have to take the 13th card. That's just what I do. You know, it's 13. I was born on the 13th. It figures prominently in my life, so all of the time for some weird reason. So that's just what I do. When I need to take a random card, I'll take the 13th one. Oops. Well, here we have the Six of Swords. Now, this can indicate a journey. This is one of the reasons I don't use these cards, and I use the Rider-Waite one that I use because it gets glary from the candlelight here. But here we have, you can't really see the child in this one. In the Rider-Waite and others, you generally see three people. You see what looks like a man, a woman, and a child huddled against the cold. They're taking a journey over water. There's six swords basically piercing the boat. So a journey to new experiences, to new perception maybe. So it can be like a change. It can be the journey over water to new experiences, but it could also be a change in perception and how we see things. Here's another example of where, even though this is a suit of swords, you also see the water element there. You see the mountains and whatnot in the background and castles in the background, but it's in the winter. So that's Pentacles there. The activity of fire is inherent in this because of the movement forward. So in a sense, this card employs all of the different elements, all the different suits into one. But clearly there's a change in focus that's taken place here. Six is about higher self-energy, it's about harmony, it's about balance, it's about shared purpose. Let's do a fourth card though. If this is a card, or rather a reading of where the page has taken his cues from the Queen, perhaps it's the Queen, the authority, the fire authority within, if you will. Perhaps it's the Queen that is suggested to the page that it's time to set out on a new direction in life, to take charge of his life, to stand in his own power and to make his way. Perhaps he's been reluctant. Perhaps he's a child that's been reluctant to leave home, and even though he's studying, it's like, oh, okay, you know, it's like, well, I don't really know, you know, because he is looking back at her instead of a mind on the future, instead of a focus on the future. You know, he's still pretty much stuck at home. He's still stuck in that mindset of not really wanting to branch out. But it seems like with the six now, perhaps that's what he's going to do. But there feels like there should be a fourth card, either somewhere in the middle of all of this or at the end. So let's do another card. Well, we have the Chariot. We see the steeds, dark and light, shadow side of self and spirit, receptive and projective, male and female. We're looking at polarity here, imbalanced polarity, when to take control and when to allow, basically. When to take the reins. He's got the reins. See, typically in with this card and other decks, particularly the Rider-Waite, you're going to see this individual at rest. He's come back. He's there. I'm back. You know, but he's not moving. With the Chariot, however, though, you can look at it in terms of even progression. But being the seventh card of the major arcana, this is a soul archetype card for balance. We've talked before about how we balance and form. We think it's just horizontally, the horizontal plane of masculine, feminine polarity, but it's really not. We're no more these, but the body here is just the illusion that we happen to inhabit, that we focus in and create at every second of our experience, so that we can then inhabit this. Our souls can inhabit this body and have some vehicle with which to experience life. But with the chariot, what this is implying is that not only do you have that horizontal plane of balance that you have to achieve. 7 can be depicted as the scales, and so you have the resting point. The king would then be the resting point between the two pans here, providing the balance. But you can see, instead of at rest, he's getting ready to go, isn't he? The horses are not lying down, they're not standing still, they're getting ready to go, they're kind of rearing back. They could be in mid-gallop. You can see him pulling back on the reins, which you don't typically see in the Rider-Waite and other depictions of this card. But you can see here, you can see the sun on his chest, on his breastplate. You see the star, you can see the pentagrams above on his crown. This is a card of protection as well. You see the moons on either shoulder. So all of this, the king is representing spirit, the king is representing the soul. So you not only have the horizontal alignment here, you also have vertical. So the balance truly then is balancing spirit with form. And from there, the masculine and feminine, or projective and receptive energies within. And again, it's knowing when to take control and when to allow. Now, it seems like that is the message of the Queen of Rods here toward the page. And apparently he's now made a decision to move on. He has a family now. We're going to assume that there's a child in the, but right now we only know that there's 2. But based on other renditions of this card, we know that there's 3 people in this boat. But he's well prepared for the future, all of his knowledge, all of the skill that he's gained from when he was a student, all the life experience that he's gained. Perhaps instead of being a knight, perhaps he's simply getting married and moving on to something new, to new experiences, but he's doing it in balance, with understanding that in order to, in other words, in order to move away from this focus, this perspective, into this one, something had to change. So maybe we want to do this. I think we do. I think that we want to put the 6 last. I think we want to start with the Queen. We want to start with the Queen of Rods. We want to then move to the page who's looking at her. The guidance that she's giving him has to do with staying in balance and to take a balanced perspective, to know when to get up and move and when to sit there, And then the final outcome then is the 6, where he moves forward in shared purpose with his wife, possibly a child, into new experiences, into new perception, into a new direction in life, instead of staying with, at home with, I guess we want to do this one over here, don't we? Well, heck, here. There we go. It's hard to do this backwards. But you can see how he's still looking at the Queen, or he's still looking, rather. Okay, he's still looking at the Queen, right, for guidance. And basically the guidance she gives him is to be in balance. And so there he goes. To take a balanced perspective, a balanced focus, a balanced viewpoint at things, instead of, and understand that you can't stay at home forever. You have to move on. You can't stay stuck in the past, basically. You know, kids have to grow up. They have to understand that the relationship changes with the parents. Parents need to understand the same thing. Um, it doesn't have to be a situation where the parents and the kids have to be at odds with one another. It can simply be that, okay, it's time now to, go and live your life and allow for that for everyone concerned. We have the seed, which is ingus or inguas, however you wish to pronounce it. Now, this particular rune can be written, it can be drawn two different ways. It can be drawn as two X's, one on top of the other, like a DNA strand. This is the seed or sudden expansion of energy, growth, possibility. Again, I think we're going to put that between the Chariot and the Six of Swords. You could put it at the end, but you could also put it there. And I think if you do, then you're showing how the choice then to align, to take the wisdom of the Queen and employ that in our lives for the page, to do that, then changes his focus, brings him into a better alignment, a better perception about what all of life is, and then gives him the courage then, I guess. I mean, it takes courage to change, doesn't it? It takes courage then to, express that new energy in a new direction. And so we start that process with ingus or inguas, and I want to show you either way that you do this particular rune. I'm going to show you both ways. It employs Kenaz, another rune. The runes can be individual or they can be a bind rune, basically. And either way you write this, it can be this way or this other way. But either way you look at it, you're talking about Kenaz or the torch, or the light of spirit expressed outward. But in this case, we have this expressed in all directions. We have the light expressed in all directions, inward, outward, above us, below us. It's truly another example of an as above, so below rune. I'm going to do it with respect to, I'm going to do it this way so you can see how they sort of merge together. But you can see that, can you not? All that is Kenaz turned in a bunch of different directions. The same is true if you do it the other way, if you represent them as Gebo on top of one another, balanced energy exchange. Those X's actually connect there. I have them separate, but they should actually connect. I'll connect them here. Basically, what you're talking about with ingus or inguas, however you wish to say it, or however you wish to draw it, you're talking about the light of spirit in all directions, extended outward, drawn inward, and it's basically the as above, so below energy that brings everything into balance that we're talking about in the Chariot here. And given that it's the 22nd rune of the Elder Futhark, we're talking energetically, the master number for, it's the Cosmic Builder, which is the most powerful number, or considered the most powerful number in numerology. It's manifestation from a cosmic level, so it's soul manifestation. And so when we look at this, what are we going to manifest? Well, in this case, we're going to manifest a new direction, a new perspective that then allows us to go and well prepared for our future, in fact. The page of Pentacles focused on his studies. He focused on getting prepared, went to college, whatever, maybe a little reluctant to leave home, after all is said and done. The world's a scary place, but mom's not going to sit there and abandon him there. She's going to say, look, you have everything you need. You are well prepared for the future. You've learned all you need to learn, to prepare your way. You're ready to learn more things. You understand that life is a process. You're ready for it. You just need a different focus. You need to go now. You need to do what you've prepared for all of your life, And then that happened. Let's do a geomancy rune to end this with. Where is my magnifying glass? Let's see what we have here. If you've been here before, you know that we put these in the order of air, fire, water, and earth. So I need to get that first in the order, and then we can see what we have here. Oh, is it Rubeus? Oh, it is. Well, okay. Rubeus is considered an evil influence. I don't know why. Mars or Scorpio, and Mars and Scorpio, I think, is what it is, maybe. Where is that pen? Geomancy is an older divination tool. There's a variety of ways you can do it. Ultimately, it results in a rune that is comprised of either two dots or single dots or a combination of the two. And in this case, it's a combination of one single dot and three dual dots. And that is called Rubeus. The only active principle here is in the air. On the air level, we have fire, air, water, and earth. So what you could then say is that where the issue here, the evil issue here is in terms of communication or reason or intellect. Maybe it's manipulative. The rest of the influences are all passive, and so without the balance of additional active influences here, Rubeus tends to get away from itself. Being a passionate type of an energy, maybe it's difficult to harness. And so what I would say here, especially given that we have swords here, a new direction and all of that, we want to be mindful that we can use this passionate energy of Rubeus to move us forward, but we want it to not restrict us. We want to remain in balance. If maybe Rubeus was the energy that was keeping the page focused in the past. Maybe there were issues of the past that were preventing him from moving forward, taking all that he's learning, taking all of this preparation he's doing, and then causing him to maybe be reluctant to put it into practice and to manifest his dreams, basically, and his way forward and his new direction and his future. And so maybe what Rubeus is suggesting is that we want to be very careful that we keep everything moving in that direction and not get bogged down into issues of emotion that maybe keep us stuck. And so that's another thing with Rubeus. It's almost like it's emotion and passion turned inward and not really maybe in a passive aggressive type of an experience. And that's where I think that the Chariot is the solution here, where it sort of explains that we can't express ourselves in a passive aggressive way, and that may be what he's doing here. And the Queen is suggesting, no, stand in your own power. Don't get into the whole passive aggressive aspects of interactions with others. Passive aggression may make the individual expressing it feel powerful, and it doesn't really matter which end it's in. I've known passive aggressive women who tend to use the passive side of things to control things in a way that I knew a woman that would do that. She would rule the room. The family would gather around her and take care of mom. But it was a game. It was a way because she felt powerless. It was a way that she gained power within the family structure. And so God love her, but at the same time, it was dysfunctional. It made the rest of the people in the family and the extended family unit as well uncomfortable because of this unspoken game that gets played. Sometimes when it's on the other end of the equation where you're aggressive all of the time, they use that aggression. Guilt is involved but basically the whole thing is to keep everybody in under control. Rubeus reminds me of that type of passive aggression. But in this case, it's probably more verbal than anything else. Um, so you would think in terms of manipulation and all of that. So perhaps, you know, the boy was just afraid, or the student, the young person. It doesn't have to be a boy, because I mean, sometimes the suits here are called princesses instead of pages, or daughters, and then the son would be the knight. So it just depends on the deck you're in. So the page doesn't have to, in other words, be a boy. It just looks like one, and so I'm just using that as an example. It doesn't make any difference. So if the young person is afraid to leave home, you know, they need maybe they need a strong female influence in their lives to say, here, you know. So if that's you, go and talk to whoever it is that's in your life that represents that, and then maybe they can give you a perspective that can then bring you into balance, you know, that you then do that, you find your own balance that then allows you then to grow and make the changes you need, right, to then seek a new path and a new direction. Maybe. So anyhow, well, I guess that's probably it then. I think that does it. I guess I won't see you tomorrow. I'll see you on Monday. And do check out the blog. There'll be more stuff going up this weekend. Usually stuff goes up every day. If I can get it together enough to do the correspondences every day, then stuff goes up every day. But again, Sunday starts the new weekly Rune and Moon, so check for that. And I guess we'll see you Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. I know that it's difficult right now. We have a lot of weird things going on in our country, and it may be best to stay off of the news and off of online and all of that. I don't know. Sometimes I think that the more we're drawn, I think it draws us in. But unfortunately, we forget ourselves and we become reactionary. We forget to then manifest our own experiences. So maybe take a weekend away from that kind of stuff. And we've got the autumn equinox coming up here. I've seen it both I have it listed on my my correspondences as, let's see, when do I have it? I think I have it on the 23rd, which is Monday. Early Monday morning, it happens at 12:50. Is it 12:50 p.m. or a.m.? Is it 12:50 p.m.? So that's noonish, if that's the case. I think I might have made a mistake there. I need to go and double check that. I thought it was a.m., but maybe it's p.m. So if that's the case, then it's, you know, like 12:50 in the afternoon. That's actually better. I'm thinking of working a spell at that time, so right at the equinox. So I need to double check. I thought I had to do it in the middle of the night. So I'm going to go back and double check that. That could be a mistake. I may have to go update that. But in any event, we've got that coming up. Mabon, same thing. So if you celebrate Mabon, that's a cool harvest Sabbath to celebrate. I don't know. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you Monday. And thank you so much again for coming by. There's something I'm remembering, and I know I'm gonna remember when I close out. If I do, I'm gonna put it in the comments, okay? But there's something that's like, I know there's something else that I keep meaning to mention. I should have written it down and I did not. So anyway, I guess if I think of it, I'll put it in the comments and it'll be there. So look for it there. Anyhow, we'll see you Monday. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. Have a wonderful weekend, and blessed be.